Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. As always, it is Nick here, back with your daily crypto news and analysis. And today we are going to be talking about Ripple and XRP, as well as the vast majority of crypto and finance. And with that being said, I do want to start off with this clip here. This got posted by XRP Darren, Fame21 more over on Twitter. And we do see tight grip of the money cartel. Crypto chatter had them worried, but guess what? They've seen a way to make it work for their own pockets, and we do see CBDCs. Now, I do want to play this clip, but first, I want to take you guys over here to this clip. This is an older one, but listen, this is what I want you guys to remember. As we look at crypto, I want you all to understand that these people that are on Congress, these people that make decisions for all of us, these are the types of individuals that are behind those major organizations of government that make these decisions. Listen to what Brad Sherman says here and how he's targeting crypto specifically and what crypto does. But because crypto does it, it's bad. But because the US government does it, it's good. Listen.
Crypto bros make money literally by making money, and they've made over $1 trillion. Out of thin air. They'll accuse the U.S. government of making money out of thin air. Maybe we do, but we're the U.S. government. Crypto.
So yeah, these are the people that are in charge of what's happening around the U.S. And you know what? The Treasury is just the same way. These people don't know how to do anything. They are incompetent in terms of their status that they have. And remember, like, as we really kind of look at these people, like Brad Sherman, for an example, they are ones that support the big banks. They love the banking system. They love the big bankers because guess what? They line their pockets with money. And over here, this clip by XRP Darren that he posted is incredible. Listen closely to this.
And I think some members of Congress or some regulators pretty much put the kibosh on it.
The central banks ran to the hills. I mean, when they really saw what was happening, they were terrified. And I worked for a central bank think tank at that time, and this was, I think, the first time that the central banks realised they could face an existential crisis. So, kind of, a lot of the work you see them doing now, in some ways, is actually future-proofing their own currencies. I think Facebook as well hadn't spoken to central banks before. It's one thing to disrupt the taxi service with Uber. It's another thing to disrupt hotels with Airbnb. Disrupting money, disrupting sovereign value itself is a different thing. And if you're going to have as your motif move fast and break things, that's pretty much the worst thing you can say to central banks. And they made sure that every place where those guys tried to apply for a license in Switzerland or in the US, they were rejected. And then in the end, it fizzled out.
Yeah, because I have heard of a lot of public opposition to this idea, but then someone mentioned to me one day, no, actually, most of the resistance to a CBDC is coming from the central banks because they don't really want to do this. They don't want to change the very nature of the money they issue. So I think, is that a question that still maybe needs to be looked at?
It depends. I mean, I don't find that so much now. I think that's less and less true.
Right.
It's certainly true at the most senior echelons on the governor's desk. There might be, do we really need to do this? I've got capital controls to worry about. I've got inflation to worry about. Do we need? But that's becoming less and less true. I think there is resistance from other places, but there's more eagerness, at least, to learn, to see if any of the problems that the current system presents can be overcome with this form of public digital money is of more and more interest to central banks. And they're doing more things.
And I do believe that as we really kind of look at what's happening, especially around, this market, there has been a lot of coordinated attacks against a few major players, which we've talked about in the past, which we will address even in this video. But I do think that now central bankers, they kind of realize, like, listen, we need to innovate. We need to, because there's been a lot of dominance going from the traditional system over to crypto. Crypto has become too big to ignore, and now they are trying to innovate with it. And I think that a lot of the recent experiments really kind of solidify that. And remember, right, like the major reason why Ripple and XRP were both targeted is this image here. This is from Anderson. When you see they have been targeted because, when you really kind of look at this image, it's disrupting significant pieces of the financial system. But you see, nothing explains why Ripple and XRP has been under a coordinated and vicious attack for the last few years better than this image from their own commercial. With XRP, a transfer can circumvent the correspondent banking system, the JPM Morgans, the cities of the world with its charges. And yes, as we really kind of look at this, like XRP significantly disrupts the overall transfer and even just value settlement of the world. And when you look at this, right, these big banks, they don't want that. They want to make their money hand over fist. And even with central bankers, right, like they don't want to change the old way of banking because they also enrich themselves off these massive fees. These central bankers have been eating up money forever and forever, right? So as we really kind of look at this, like, yeah, they are going to try to stop this, but I think at this point in time, well, guess what? There's no stopping it. The global initiatives have been really kind of reinventing the wheel through digitalization, tokenization, utilizing blockchain, DLT, digital assets, you name it. So now, what are they going to do? Well, Finance Lot over on Twitter posted this. Central banks are about to blame their policy error on an inability to properly monitor the economy under the current system, citing a need for a CBDC where money flows can be analyzed. The inflation crash and subsequent frozen banking system will be tied to the antiquated network. And this is also quoting, this 2022 video, which was, we are about to see a fundamental change to the international transaction and settlement system, which is the future blueprint of the monetary system, which we will talk about here in a second. But yes, this is a very interesting clip. Listen closely to this, and then we will address a few things after.
I think you're talking much more about programmability of retail CBDCs, which restricts the use to specific contexts.
Yes.
Okay, so let me address that. So I think it's worth actually just thinking about how how programmability could have been used during the pandemic. So one of the things that we certainly found was that when the fiscal disbursements needed to happen in the early stages, so there was some economies went into shutdown, the economy was grinding to a halt. You needed to get the resources to people right away. The big dividing line wasn't between those economies with CBDCs and those without. And indeed, not many economies actually have CBDCs right now even. The difference really was how efficient was your banking system and how inclusive was your banking system in that most of the citizens, most of the residents actually had a bank account.
So yeah, he does quote a lot of things around the pandemic. He talks about how the system essentially got halted a little bit there. And as we really kind of look at what's happening right now, they're talking about a possible new pandemic. They're talking about, things happening with the BRICS, de-dollarization. I think that they're gearing us up for a big event to push us into this next stage where we do see CBDCs really kind of brought in. And just like Finance Lot is saying here, like the inflation crash and subsequent frozen banking system will all be tied to the antiquated network. They will blame the old, systems to usher in the new systems. They need to have this problem, reaction, solution, right? And they already have the solution. And what's funny about this is like I even made a tweet talking a little bit about debt because debt right now is outrageous. And I said something is about to break. The system is cracking. I hope you are all aware of the problems with unsustainable debt. We are heading towards dark days and no, it doesn't change my short-term thought process, meaning like I do believe that short-term we will most likely see a major melt up in the markets where we kind of have a blow-off top event, if you will. But as we look at this, like look at the current debt. Household debt, 17.1 trillion. Mortgage debt, 12 trillion. Auto loans, 1.6 trillion. Credit card debt, 1 trillion. All of these balances are at record highs. Current interest rates on these. New credit card debt, 25%. New car loans, 14%. Used car loans, 9%. 30-year mortgages, 7.5%. The worst part is that student loan payments are set to resume in 1 month. Total student loan debt just hit 1.6 trillion. Will consumers be able to handle student loan payments on top of all of this? Debt problem is an understatement. And yes, I do believe that as we really kind of look at the world of debt, it's becoming unsustainable. It really is. And I do believe that something will soon crack and break. And I think that, that could very well be 2024, 2025. And what we will see from that, and it really kind of does align with the global initiative around regulations and things like that with crypto, is we will see the ushering in of the digital age of finance. But first, they need to have the traditional system essentially implode on itself, which, hey, what better way to do that than have massive hyperinflation at a time where the system is essentially unsustainable as well, because we've seen the banks starting to collapse. We've seen banks, essentially looking like meme coins, if you will, having 90+% crashes overnight. So as we really kind of look at the system right now, it is unstable. And also the US, because like I said, these people that are in charge, they are incompetent. The US debt will rise by more than $5 billion every single day for the next decade. That is roughly $2 trillion in the next 10 years. Now I ask all of you, does that sound like a sustainable system? Who's going to be buying up that debt? I don't understand this idea on hodling and holding dollars. Savings account, right? Everyone loves their savings accounts. I just don't get it. Maybe I'm thinking a little bit differently here, but I just don't see how the dollar is going to sustain value at all when they are massively printing. We see nations outside of the US not even wanting to utilize the dollar anymore. We already have a massive amount of dollars in circulation. And what happens when that money starts coming back and when nobody wants to even utilize the dollar or even buy up the US debt that we continue to add to the system? Well, guess what? Then you see an implosion happen. And what's going to happen from that? Like I said, CBDCs, they've already outlined this blueprint. And I've talked about this just recently, right? This is the blueprint for the future monetary system. This was posted on June 2023. Remember the video from Finance Law about CBDCs. This is the future monetary system from 2022. They have been giving us insights on this new system forever. And the big thing to look at with this is APIs. Their whole scope is APIs, which is application programming interfaces. And all of this is to incorporate additional assets, entities, or even merge all of them together, all on separate ledgers or possibly on a major unified ledger concept, where one ledger could aim at improving security settlement while another could facilitate trade finance in supply chains. All of this essentially becoming the network of networks. We already know that the BIS has done experiments with, for example, Quant through API plug and play. The whole system here is talking about API plug and play, which is fully fledged programmability across systems as well. And they don't want siloed systems. They want everything to be interoperable and connected. And what better way to do that than through Quant? We know Quant has gateways to Ripple and XRP. And also, as we really kind of look at XRP, I know that everyone's going to say, well, CBDCs, you're supporting CBDCs. Like, what is wrong with you? Guys, I've talked about it in the past. XRP could essentially be the antidote to CBDCs. Matt Hamilton, which is a previous Ripple employee, does say a lot of questionable stuff over on Twitter, but for the most part, I did agree with him on this because this is going all the way back to October of 2022, where Leia, who is a Bitcoin maxi, she was talking about XRP and how people love to promote XRP as a bridge currency for CBDCs, like it's a good thing. Remember, as we look at XRP, it's actually very beneficial if we do have a CBDC system, because we do see, well, it is a good thing as it is promoting an open, decentralized, permissionless cryptocurrency for the use as a bridge currency between CBDCs. Why is that bad? And we do see it's a bad thing if your Twitter and media identity is built around misleading people into believing that CBDCs are Orwellian surveillance coins that will enslave humanity. And we do see it's not even that, though. Regardless of whether you believe that or not, the point is that XRP is not a CBDC. It is actually the antidote to any imaginary or real threat that may be posed by CBDCs. And it could, right? Like, as we really kind of look at the system and this new system that they're essentially imposing on us, we want open, decentralized solutions within this. We don't want closed, centralized systems where, they could control every single thing around CBDCs. Like, I welcome in private entities with XRP or, any currency out there, implementing their own solutions, utilizing their own solutions, because that does allow for another, layer within that to protect the retail sector from overreach of the central bankers, which we do know central bankers love control. So as we really kind of look at that, I do welcome in the idea of XRP being utilized around CBDCs. So, as we do look at these API plug and plays and we look at Quant and what Quant is trying to do and the, collaborations that they have with Ripple, especially on the Digital Pound Foundation or even the Digital Euro Association, I welcome that in. Now, also, as we do look at APIs and we look at the future monetary system, the reason why I believe that Ripple and XRP are 100% tied back to this is because with RippleNet, right, like they have every single important component of a funds transfer system plus XRP liquidity. ISO 2922, let's do it, posted this. And we do see that second layer liquidity under, of course, the Ripple API. This is all through the Ripple API, a network with roles and governance. Listen closely to this minute and 43-second long clip. Roll it.
Will be comfortable transacting. So we have a rule set and we have governance. And the final two components of this, one is liquidity. And this is where blockchain comes in. This is where the cryptocurrency XRP really comes into its own. We use it to create global liquidity for our payment flows. And with that, we create much more velocity in payment flows globally. So that's how that vision picks together. And finally, we want to make this technology very easily accessible. So we've developed API technology such that whether a bank is running Ripple in-house or whether, let's say, a corporate is using Ripple via a hosted service, the API is there to encapsulate Ripple processing and make the whole experience very easy to access and use. So that's our stack. And again, the message here is there's a lot more going on here than pure blockchain. So blockchain thinking and cryptocurrency thinking occurs throughout the stack. We've applied the knowledge we have and the experience we have very, very broadly to the entire portfolio of things you have to do to make a payment network work, including creating our own protocol, including using our cryptography for messaging, and also bringing our cryptocurrency into the liquidity piece. And we've also got away from blockchain completely in some ways in creating governance structures and rule sets within which companies, organizations can communicate with each other. And that's what we're bringing out to market now. And that's why one of the reasons why we're getting very good traction worldwide, because we have a complete set that's really ready for prime time versus experiments and small components which one day could be something.
So yeah, this is why I do think that the Ripple API is a crucial thing to mention, simply because we do know that this new monetary system will be underpinned by API technology connected through a network of networks, which could very well be the Quant network, which we do know is a foundational piece to connect this new world to the old world. And I really do think that as we look at these central bankers, and if they do want to harness the power of the future, this would be their best interest. So again, as we look at everything happening, I do think that we are seeing a coordinated move towards this new system. Do I think that we will see a global financial freeze? We could very well see a global financial freeze where we do kind of have the whole system halted and then usher in this new system. They need to create a big problem. We're kind of seeing everything brewing at once. We're seeing the talks of a possible new pandemic. We're seeing the talks of the BRICS, de-dollarization, a major pushback on the US dollar. Is the US dollar going to implode? We're starting to see banks imploding. Debt is getting out of hand. So, all of this tied back to one. To me personally, I think that the fuse is already lit. We're just waiting for the big implosion, right? So as we do look at everything, yes, they do want the traditional system to essentially crumble so that the new system could rise. And I think that they already have this solution. I think that's been being tested for a while. We're starting to see more and more CBDCs being talked about. 93% of central bankers now are on par with the CBDC initiative. I'm waiting to see what happens next, especially with this BRICS meeting. We do know in September there's a lot of things happening around regulations. We know that by the end of 2025, we will essentially have a global regulatory framework for crypto assets and crypto itself. So, things are moving pretty quickly. I think that, everyone should be paying attention to what's really going on here. And what's really happening is we are on the brink of a major change in scenery around the financial system. So with that being said, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys would definitely leave a like, subscribe, turn notifications on because of more free content. You guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join free Discord in the description below. As up to you all, have a beautiful day, a beautiful night. Wherever you guys are on this video, this has been Nick. Peace out, guys.